My name's Charlie Adlard, and I was the artist on The Walking Dead. One of my biggest memories is, it's a kind of for me, a big one, but for everyone else, probably quite insignificant. It's quite fascinating as to what they take from what you draw, as opposed to, what they don't take, for instance. Obviously, I've been on set of The Walking Dead a couple of times in the whole sort of time that I've spent drawing the comic book, primarily, mostly the earlier seasons. So I was on set for the pilot, and I came back and I was on set for season 3. Obviously, the pilot was a weird one because, don't get me wrong, it was great, but it was a weird one because obviously I hadn't drawn that material. But the second time I went back, obviously, I had drawn the material. And Robert Kirkman, obviously, asked me if I would like to come back for season 3, primarily to see the prison set and everything. So, yeah, sure. I'd love to come back, I said. So I trundled back down to Atlanta from the UK. I remember going on set, and what they'd done, they'd taken the studio backlot to which they were filming in and on, and turned the backlot of the studio down in Atlanta into the prison. And there were 2 really significant things about that when I went down there. One, the towers were exactly how I drew the towers in the comic book, without a word of a lie. They were so close, it was incredible. Which was kind of weird to think that I'd base my towers on research I'd done on American prisons. So, of course, they got the American prisons. I'd, copied that. And, the producers had deemed it good enough to copy from the comic book onto the screen. But what excited me even more was when I went inside and I was walking around the sets, I noticed that the tables had been built exactly like how I'd drawn the tables. And they'd actually been built. They hadn't sourced tables or anything like that, which you assume they might have done. It might have been cheaper, or perhaps not. I don't know. But they'd sourced the tables. But they hadn't sourced the tables. They'd built the tables. So, of course, there were these tables that looked exactly like how I drew them in the book. And, I was doing things like going around meeting all the cast. The first time I met Danai Garia, who obviously played Michonne, which was, at the time amazing because, she looked exactly how I drew her. But I was more excited about those bloody tables, that they'd gone to the effort of taking that from the book. And obviously the other thing was you could tell that they were reading the book, because why else would they do it? So that was very exciting, actually, very exciting indeed. I think I've spent 3 days that second time. Unfortunately, it was my second and final visit to the Walking Dead sets. That's the thing I take away the most from something like that. It's just weird that the things they will, take from your book. Certain things they change. Something like the governor. His look was completely different to how I drew the governor, and yet tables and towers, where they could have just used any old tower, any old table, was so close to how I drew things in The Walking Dead. So that was a particularly special moment for me, staring at those tables. I'll never forget it. I've told also that there's been many instances. I've watched episodes which have been torn from the comic book pages, shall we say. A particular one which was Carl and Rick in the house together after the prison. There were beats that were exactly like how I drew the comic book, almost angles that were exactly the same. Again, it's a great honor because it shows that the people making the show are fans because they're obviously reading the books and taking stuff from those books and putting them, straight down on the screen. So yeah, there have been a few instances after that. Obviously, not that I witnessed live, but certain episodes where I just thought, "Oh, that's like the comic." Yeah, excellent. You feel quite pleased with yourself that they didn't feel like they had to change anything to make it fit. Obviously a different format, a different medium that obviously television is. So yeah, all things considered, Robert and I have been treated very well by the producers of The Walking Dead because they've taken our stuff and not messed with it, shall we say, too much. And it's no skin off my nose. I would have been quite happy if they'd changed bits. I'm the first one that appreciates the fact that TV shows and comics, similar as they are in a storytelling medium, they're also two completely different beasts, and things do need to be changed. But the guys making the show sometimes thought that wasn't necessary, and the comic was their sort of perfect source of inspiration. So yeah, I was incredibly pleased with that.